by posing the question to you of how many nuclear weapons do you think it would take to destroy the world? This is a seriously contested question, but everyone has their own opinions about it. The general consensus is that no one really knows. And I find this lack of reliable numerical data to be extremely problematic, especially given the extended arguments that exist about the US nuclear arsenal and what is an acceptable reduction. Currently, the US has thousands of nuclear weapons in its arsenal. On August 29, 2007, just 6 of these nuclear weapons went missing for over 24 hours. This left a very viable window of opportunity where terrorists could have stolen or damaged one of these weapons. This event is significant because although we don't know how many nuclear weapons it would take to destroy the world, we do know that if just one of these nuclear missing weapons would have been able to kill over 500,000 people. So the fact that 6 were inadequately protected and not even known to have been missing leaves me extremely worried. Events like this make me question how secure the other thousands of weapons are that exist in the US nuclear arsenal. In this talk, I want to lead you through the past, present, and future efforts related to the security of nuclear weapons. To start, I want to step back for a minute and give you some background information. You might be asking why we have so many nuclear weapons. And to answer this, you have to rewind to the Cold War. During the Cold War, the US was in competition with the Soviet Union for the title of the world's leading superpowers. Because of this, both countries created ridiculously large nuclear arsenals. But since the end of the Cold War, almost everyone has been in unanimous agreement that the number of weapons by both countries is in total excess and so must be reduced. These reductions were initiated with the START Treaties 1 and 2. START, the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. At the beginning of 2009, with the expiration of START nearing, the world continued to recognize that more reductions to the US arsenal had to happen. In March 2009, President Obama made a speech in Prague in which he agrees that the existence of thousands of nuclear weapons is the most dangerous legacy of the Cold War. As such, the new START Treaty was signed and ratified in 2010. This calls for a reduction of both the US and Russia's nuclear arsenal to a maximum of 1,550 warheads each. Now, given this background information of continuous reductions, it is necessary for you all to know that nuclear weapons are still considered to be important. And they're important because they can act as a deterrent. Because of their extreme destructive power, the argument follows that having nuclear weapons protects you from another country attacking you, as you can retaliate, and the end would be mutually assured destruction for both countries. But as you've heard, reductions are being called for, and these are because of the two main risks associated with nuclear weapons. These are nuclear proliferation and nuclear terrorism. The first, nuclear proliferation. Because of the protections deterrent that comes with possessing nuclear weapons, many countries today continue to seek nuclear weapon technology. This is so that they can have the same level of respect and protection as other nuclear powers. The second risk from nuclear weapons is nuclear terrorism. Because of the destructive power of these weapons, many terrorist organizations have expressed their interest in getting control of a nuclear weapon. This is especially troublesome because the idea of deterrent is ineffective against these organizations. Deterrent is ineffective because we don't know who or where they really are, so we can't exactly fire a nuclear weapon on them in retaliation. It is this trade-off of protection as deterrent versus threat of proliferation and terrorism that is a big argument today between how many nuclear weapons the US actually needs. Now that you have a general overview of nuclear weapons, I'm going to look more closely at the present numerical values that are given for nuclear stockpiles. As I mentioned, the new START Treaty calls for reduction of US warheads to around 1,500. But why 1,500? Well, in the White House official press release, they described that these limits are based on a rigorous analysis conducted by the Department of Defense. However, the international law professor Guido Dendekar describes how the new START Treaty counts a number of bombers which no longer have nuclear tasks. This means that instead of the almost 6,000 nuclear warheads that the START policy counts the US as having, in reality we have around 2,200 active warheads. Therefore, the current actual numbers are already very close to the new ceilings laid out in the new START Treaty. Now, To make all of this more confusing, we'll look at the fact sheet that the Department of Defense conveniently released in 2010, increasing the transparency of the past and present nuclear stockpile. It looked like this, a mere 2 pages. But in these 2 pages, they then referred to US nuclear weapons which were deployed and non-deployed, strategic and non-strategic, active and inactive warheads, dismantled, retired and awaited dismantlement, and warheads with non-operational status. The Department of Defense, transparent, right? Wrong. What all this boils down to is that numbers about nuclear weapons are not clear. It's not clear even when the government is trying to be transparent. It's not clear what numbers are being included in the treaty calculations. It's not clear what levels we're even starting our reduction from, so how are we ever going to have a meaningful reduction to? To extend our look further into the future, the only numerical reduction to that has actually been put forward is 0. Global Zero. Global Zero is a campaign first introduced in 2006 with the goal of a world without nuclear weapons. In the same speech I mentioned earlier from March 2009, President Obama threw his hat in with Global Zero when he stated clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons. However, there are a number of extreme skeptics of the Global Zero ideal. One of these is Richard Pearl, head of the George W. Bush administration's Defense Policy Board. To make it clear, Pearl does support the idea of reducing the global arsenal. What he opposes is reducing the arsenal too much, aka to 0. He states that Global Zero will do more to spread than contain nuclear weapons for 2 main reasons. The first is by displacing and undermining other more effective strategies. As I've said, the main use of nuclear weapons is as protection. Because of this, to prevent the spread of nuclear proliferation, the US has extended its arsenal as protection to many of our allies to prevent them from building their own nuclear weapons. This idea is called the nuclear umbrella, with our weapons covering others and offering them protection through us. However, Pearl argues that with the goal of Global Zero could reduce the effectiveness of the nuclear umbrella. He believes that if the United States is seen to be heading towards eliminating its nuclear capabilities, countries that may have relied on us may decide that they must acquire their own nuclear weapons. This could mean that Global Zero could actively encourage nuclear proliferation rather than the intended goal of reducing all weapons to 0. Pearl's second argument is that against Global Zero is that a world without nuclear weapons is far too unrealistic. He claims that almost since no one actually politically believes it, the goal of Global Zero is a mere mirage. It leaves one wondering what could be claimed for chasing it or pretending to believe it's real. In contrast to Pearl, there are others who believe that a campaign to get rid of all nuclear weapons is worth supporting even if the ultimate goal is unattainable. Although these individuals may support the ideas of serious reductions implied by Global Zero, the idea that the ultimate goal is unattainable remains problematic. Instead of settling for a goal that people either don't want or that they think is unachievable, I feel that a different numerical value should be introduced as a worthwhile goal for reduction. Fundamentally, people agree about the danger of the global arsenal as it is. There are also so many arguments about the dangers of reducing the nuclear arsenal too low. But no one is placing a numerical value of what they think is just right. And this is the message that I want you all to take away from my talk today. Nuclear weapons are not easy. They are difficult for nuclear experts to maintain. They are difficult for politicians to police. They are especially difficult for anyone to understand when information about them is kept so clandestine. With such a multifaceted topic, it's even more important for there to be clear numbers of past stockpiles, present values, and future goals. The argument of reduction, but not too much, is completely unacceptable when you're talking about the safety of millions of people and the security of the world. Stating a number, I think it's about time for scholars, world leaders, and the military to be using some hard, concrete numbers in their arguments. Stating a number of 1,500 weapons in the New START Treaty means nothing when the information surrounding it is so unclear. Or if scholars don't like 0, they need to give us something else. And if they don't want to, then it's up to the public, people like you and me, to force them to. Governments are making policies and signing treaties that affect the survival of us all. And for too long, they have not been specific enough, and we haven't noticed or haven't cared. So today, my goal is for you to notice and for you to care that there needs to be numbers. And that they're the only way that serious, meaningful reductions in the global nuclear arsenal are going to happen.